What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about this very, very weird AI thing that's going on. Obviously, Aloy, Horizon, Ashley Birch, there's quite a bit to get to, and I guess it's good I waited a couple extra days, right? Because you had kind of the leak, and anybody that posted that stuff was immediately kind of nuked and taken down, so that's good that I wasn't participating in that part. But what this was kind of this, and I mean, look, have we seen something like this before? Maybe from like the Disney Worlds and Universals of the world, something along the lines of an AI character, right, that is able to kind of bounce back and forth with the human, the player, right? Now, this is like a prototype. This wasn't really ready for release. This was leaked way ahead. But I will say, cutting to the end of the story where Ashley Birch responded, this is actually, I think, far worse for her and for the situation because, well, Gorilla responds and says, hey, we didn't use her voice. Like it is Aloy, but it's not Ashley Birch's voice. We contacted you right away after we were called out for it, and don't worry, like there's nothing to concern yourself from here, right? But it's like, well, what are you actually trying to do with this technology? And then when it is ready, what would you have done? Because, again, I know I'm jumping all over the story, but I think the end goal is to make something using AI where the character in-game can dynamically respond to what the user is kind of like inputting. And I will say, perfectly, like literally done perfectly, it does sound like a cool idea. The issue is, I think it would take forever to get to that point. I think it wouldn't be perfect, and I also think in the process you are destroying all the stuff that these voice actors are working so hard to protect, which is themselves, right? The end goal is you use Aloy's personality and traits and face, you use that character, but you can't just use a random voice. You have to use the voice of Aloy. So eventually, you would use the voice of Ashley Birch, probably without her permission, in AI form, and you would implement that in a game, implement that in a virtual experience. Like I said, I mean, like you look at like Disney and kind of how they've done it with, and those are kind of what people behind the screen kind of responding back and forth. So not necessarily AI, although I haven't been to Disney in a while. Maybe it is AI now. But, if you think about a game, you put, say, the character in, and again, perfect world, you put a character in an RPG, and us as players, and we are playing, say, as Aloy, maybe we're talking and it can kind of pick us up and she can dynamically respond to what we're saying, or we're kind of talking through Aloy. Again, done just perfectly, it actually is kind of cool, and it actually would open up like endless possibilities. The issue is I just don't think we would ever get there. I think the harm on the entire industry also is not worth it. Like truly, even if something sounds cool at the very end of the tunnel might collapse on you, by the time you get to the end of it. So I hate it. Ultimately, I'm not a big fan of, what was going on here. But honestly, I would say for that reason, because in terms of, the story itself, again, this leaks. People got really, really mad. Ashley Birch responded. Gorilla came out and promised, hey, there's nothing to see here. Again, all of these kind of deflecting, I think, mechanics. But it's like, well, why were you working on it, in the first place? And, Ashley Birch wasn't contacted until it actually ended up happening. Now, her response was, hey, I'm not necessarily against AI, and I'm not putting any company on blast, even though it was Gorilla and Gorilla employs you. So, I like Ashley Birch, but clearly she's caught up in the entire situation where, what are you going to say? What's she supposed to do? So she's kind of constricted. She can't, go on the offensive on them. They don't have to bring her back for, say, the third Horizon game, but she does say, the goal is to just have protections for these people. And I agree with that. I definitely agree that at the end of the day, these people should just kind of be protected, that if you're going to use their voice, they have to sign off on whatever it might be. I mean, we've had some of these examples happen before, right? Contracts, it's in their original contract that you can't take my voice, because ultimately I think that's kind of what they were trying to do here. Again, I know jumping all over, but if this thing never leaked, and if this thing kind of got closer and closer and closer to being done, are you going to have kind of this lifeless, AI Aloy with like a different voice? No, you'd either need to bring Ashley in to do so many different voices, or performances and lines, all that stuff, or you'd have to take everything that she's done so far and just kind of fold it in. And which one sounds like Hollywood and which one sounds like where the gaming industry is going? The second one. That's just clearly, and that is why they're fighting back and trying to say, hey, literally you can't do that, or you shouldn't be able to do that. You can't take my voice. That voice is mine. And if you want to hire me and if you want to just record me talking for like 30 hours, then use that in AI, you can do that, but not taking what's already established, right? Which I think honestly is kind of fair. I don't think that's anything, ridiculous. And again, end goal, it could be a cool idea. One other funny thing that many people have already kind of pointed out, by the way, is you think about the storyline of Horizon with like rogue AI. I mean, literally, like, so this is the one that leaks. It couldn't have been Nathan Drake. It couldn't have been, like a Hellgas. It couldn't have been like any, I mean, okay, that one was pretty old, but think about like a Joel or Ellie, whatever. Think about all these like newer, icons of PlayStation, Astrobot. Well, Astrobot is a robot. You think about all those things, right? You pick the one where the game is centered on like rogue AI. So it's like, that's just a terrible, it just looks bad. It just really, really looks bad. So, the end of the story, and this is why I kind of want to start it and tell it the way I did. I think it's actually a very, very good thing that it was leaked. I don't want to say that too often, just for the channel safety, but something like this, again, like if this was not leaked, like where does this lead? Also, is this happening all over the place? And the answer is probably yes, right? You always have these surveys from game developers, and even if they, whether they want to or not, right? Like do the AI stuff. You have these surveys of the GDCs of the world, and back in the days of E3, but you have all these, times where the industry comes together. They'll have anonymous surveys, they'll leave. And you look at it, and most of the industry is using AI. Now, I think AI, and we talked about this, here and there in the past, can be used quite effectively. And, if it can take a lot of the busy work out of game development, it can free people up to doing the harder stuff. It can free people up to doing the creative stuff, and we can really start to, actually start to push games again, because I think we've lost that in maybe the last 10 or so years. Again, that's the dream. That's like the ultimate goal. But the issue is that's oftentimes not how it goes. Oftentimes you have companies firing 20, 30 people, and you just replace them with AI, right? Where it should be, well, let's have AI do the stuff that the, people, it's busy work. Let's have AI do the busy work. And let's have the people do some of like the heavier lifting. Now, if the people can't handle that, that does fall, so this where maybe I'm a little bit different, that falls more on the people, right? Where it's like, okay, well now you don't have any excuses. You can't say, well, it took me 2 years to do this, this, and this. Well, now that's taken up by robots. Now you get to do some of like the creatively pushing the industry stuff. If you can't handle that, then you're in the wrong industry. So that's also how I think it should be. Again, though, oftentimes they don't even get the chance. It's not, well, okay, show us that you're capable of doing something while we let AI handle the easy stuff. No, oftentimes it's we're not even going to do a test run. We're just going to fire these people and replace them with AI. And this is the same situation here, right? What happens if this doesn't leak? Well, does Ashley Burch ever get contacted? Is there something in place there that protects her? Maybe, but also maybe not. And if you're doing this widespread, and again, what's also the end goal? Is the end goal where we literally just want to make AI characters and then we don't ever need the voices, or we need the voices one time? Nolan North as Nathan Drake might never come back, let's say, right? You can make Nathan Drake in a virtual experience. You can bring Nate back in another Uncharted game with Cassie, but you never need Nolan North again because you just funnel all of the lines already, use AI into it. It's like, what's the purpose? Why are they doing it? And it's not really something they actually said, right? It was more like, well, this wasn't supposed to leak, and well, nothing nefarious is happening here. Okay, well, what is happening? Well, what are you actually doing here? You're experimenting, but you experiment for a reason. These are just the things I like to know. These are the things I think just generally we should kind of know, and that's, I think, the biggest issue with this entire situation is if it didn't leak, we wouldn't know any of this. We would still be going years, and then maybe one day, just a VR, AI-style Aloy would happen. We'd say, where the heck did this come from? Well, actually, now we kind of know they've been working on it for a while, and, it's not ready yet, but, they're getting there. Now we know. What if we didn't even know that? So, not great, not ideal. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.